This is a model of an aeolipile, a device designed by Heron of Alexandria in the 1st century. It is effectively a steam turbine, a prototype for an industrial age that never arrived. In a world where this technology was allowed to mature, the year 2026 looks like a different species' history. Human lifespans reach 150 years, and the red plains of Mars are home to the marble columns of New Attica. Instead, our actual history reflects a massive divergence. We didn't follow the line from Heron's turbine to the stars. We followed a path that saw the collapse of the ancient world and a 1,000-year detour in human development. To understand why we aren't living in that high-tech reality, we have to look at a political choice made in Athens in 508 BC, a decision that effectively capped the ceiling of human evolution. Our education system celebrates a man named Cleisthenes. He is presented as the benevolent father of democracy, a philanthropist who shared power with the common man. But Cleisthenes was not an ideologue. He was a cornered aristocrat. Facing exile at the hands of his rivals, he struck a bargain with the demos, selling his elite influence to the crowd to secure his own political survival. He created a system for cleansing the state of anyone who became too successful or too intelligent to be controlled. It was a mechanism designed to protect the status quo from the threat of brilliance. For Cleisthenes, equality was a tool for suppression. He traded the potential of the Athenian elite for a system that prioritized his own safety over the progress of his civilization. In 507 BC, Athens was at a crossroads. Cleisthenes had the opportunity to build a meritocratic council of strategists, a filter for public decision-making. Instead, under pressure from the street and the fear of a rival's return, he surrendered. He signed the laws that allowed the uneducated to dictate the grand strategy of the state. This was ostracism. Once a year, citizens voted to banish rivals by scratching their names into pieces of pottery. If 6,000 shards were cast, the target was exiled for 10 years. This was the fatal pivot. It institutionalized envy, giving the mediocre a legal weapon to remove intellectual giants simply because their vision made the majority feel inferior. This brain drain left Athens vulnerable. They exiled Themistocles, who saved them from the Persians, and eventually the crowd voted to kill Socrates for daring to interfere with the mediocre status quo. By making excellence a liability, Cleisthenes ensured that the Athenian state would eventually consume its own best leaders, leaving the civilization hollow when the next crisis arrived. But what if Cleisthenes had chosen to channel the energy of the crowd into a meritocratic furnace? In this alternate history, he creates a corporate republic. Here, voting rights aren't a birthright. They are earned through military or technical contribution to the state's advancement. Instead of the mob removing visionaries, the elite use the public to remove brakes on progress. Ostracism becomes a tool for clearing the path for innovators. This centralized, high-intelligence Athens avoids the internal exhaustion of the Peloponnesian War. Instead of fighting Sparta, Athens economically absorbs it, focusing entirely on technological expansion. By 300 BC, Athens isn't a city-state, it's a global hub of innovation, setting the stage for an industrial revolution nearly 2,000 years early. In the year 2026 of this timeline, the world is organized into demos, networked city-states managed by meritocratic algorithms. Decisions are based on logic and data, not the whims of popularity. Because the state's survival became tied to empirical success and technological output, the cultural center of gravity shifted. Over centuries, the reliance on mystical explanations was replaced by a rigid Athenian rationalism. This society operates on Aristotelian ethics, the idea that personal success and strategic excellence are the highest virtues, while stagnation is a strategic error. The visual result is a world of marble megalopolises, where holograms of ancient philosophers engage in real-time debates with citizens on the city squares. This is the result of a civilization that protected its elite instead of exiling them, a world unburdened by the institutionalized envy of the majority. Back in our 21st century, the debt of Cleisthenes' choice is still being paid. When the ancient world eventually buckled, It did so because its democratic structures had already spent centuries purging the very minds capable of saving it. The error wasn't giving the people a voice, it was giving the people a voice without a filter for quality. When the mediocre have the power to cancel the genius, you don't get freedom. You get a civilization that has traded its future for the comfort of the crowd. Every leader who sacrifices their elite to appease the popularity of the street is repeating the Athenian mistake, slowly draining the strategic intelligence of their own society. We can continue with the safety of ostracism, or we can finally embrace the risk of meritocracy. The choice between progress and the shards is still ours.